Hi everyone, this is Counseling 4480, Zunker Chapter 17, Career-Related Programs for Career Development in High School and Beyond. So, time of learning to prepare for and make decisions about one's future. Body image concerns are carried from middle school into high school. And then socially responsible behavior becomes more relevant as they consider the consequences of their choices. So now we're basically beginning to understand adulthood. We're starting to be more aware of how we should behave now that we've had some time to explore from middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade. Cognitive development and learning during this time period, Newman and Newman in 2003 said that right now you are going to be having the ability to manipulate mentally more than two categories of variables simultaneously. So you can understand two things, two concepts at the same time, and it'll still make sense to you. Ability to think about changes that come with time, ability to hypothesize logical sequences of events. So now you can see an event happening, you're going to go, well, if this is going to happen, maybe this will happen, and then this will happen, and then this will happen. And that is because you're able to foresee the future, the different possibilities. Ability to foresee consequences of those actions. So if I do this, this might happen, right? And stuff like that. You'll be aware of it. Whereas when you were younger, you're like, I'm just going to do it. Who cares, right? But as you get older, you're like, oh, I might, get in a lot of trouble if I do this or that. Ability to detect logical consistency or inconsistencies in a set of statements. You might hear a bunch of things from your parents and you're going to say, oh, I noticed that this doesn't actually make sense. For example, your parents might be smokers and they say, hey, you shouldn't smoke. Before, you're like, okay, as a little baby or a little kid, that's what my parents told me to do. But now you're like, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. How come I can't smoke if you're smoking? And then ability to think in relativistic ways about self, others, and the world. So you're going to start to understand your relationship between you and society, your family, your friends, and stuff like that. You'll start to think about the bigger picture. What is going on? Why are there people around us? And why are we all doing the things that we're doing? Learn to recognize what is expected behavior of people in their community and their culture. So information processing development during adolescence. So when you take information in, how do you understand it? How do you process this as a high schooler? Able to dismiss irrelevant materials and focus on what is considered the most relevant in solving a problem. So for example, would be something like a math word problem. You'll read a paragraph and then you're going to have to decide what information in there is important and what is just details that are not necessarily very important but just there to kind of maybe mess you up or complicate things. And that's something that you'll be able to understand as you get older, right? You're like, oh, wait a minute, that part I don't need to know, this part I do need to know, and this is how I'm going to understand the world. Sophistications in processing information is connected to processing speed. Again, the quicker the thinking, the more you practice thinking, the more you're going to be able to quickly think and understand stuff. Goals and standards. Less flexibility to infuse career development programs into classroom learning activities in high school than in prior levels. What that is saying is now really it's more about just learning the materials and not necessarily thinking about careers because you're trying to understand what's going on. You're supposed to learn more. Before it was considering all these different things, but in classes, you're going to be learning about math, you're going to be learning about science, you're going to be learning about history, you're going to be learning about English, and they don't necessarily talk much about jobs as it was in the prior ones where they're saying, what do you want to do when you grow up? And part of this is to really understand and hone your skill sets during this time period. Restricted to individual and group counseling. So instead, if you do want to talk about where you want to go, you're going to be talking individually or on an individual one-on-one face-to-face basis. Okay, you're going to be talking specifically to your counselor saying, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Should I start studying this or should I major in this when I graduate to college, to go to college? Examples of ASCA national standards for school counseling programs. Skills need to prepare for employment. Prepare students to understand the importance of accepting responsibility for being dependable workers. Learning to work in teams, solve problems through group interactions, and then develop organizational skills, so interpersonal skills. So you can see here, we're trying to finesse, make these skill sets so far that we've talked about strong before you leave high school. How to apply for a job. Understand the rights of employees. develop knowledge of the changing workplaces, and then also learn how to prepare a resume. So these are some of the things that you might learn at the end of your high school to help you become that adult who, if you decide not to go to college, how do you become an adult and contribute to society? The National Career Development Guidelines, NCDG, says there are three broad domains: personal social development, educational achievement, and then career management. Part of this is understanding of purpose and scope of career development goals. So, why are you doing this? Why are we developing these goals? Identifying abilities, skills, and talents. So we recognize what you're good at and maybe you want to go into those fields. Demonstrate the use of these traits. So we might have you participate in a science fair or a recital or something like that, just to see how you're doing with it and how you're coping with it. And then determine how these traits could impact one's career development. So let's say that you won first place in science fair. Maybe that's something that you might want to consider working in or studying in when you get older. Group strategies for addressing career development. See pages 390 to 394 for examples of self-knowledge strategies, education and occupational exploration strategies, career planning strategies, and career development infusion. Again, these are just different types of activities that you as a professional, if you're working in this grade level, to be doing with your students, your clients, so that they can maybe explore what it means to the concept of work, let's say. Sex role stereotyping issue to be discussed. So again, now we talk a little bit about the fact that you are a woman or you're a man, and how does that affect what you decide you want to study. Role modeling for women to show successful women in male-dominated areas. So for example, as you guys are much more aware of, because it didn't exist, 20, 30, 40 years ago, very much was, let's say, working in technology, right? There's not a lot of women who work in Silicon Valley, and if there are, they've reported a lot of issues with sexual harassment and stuff like that. So why would women want to work in those fields? And even though they might recognize that they have really good skill sets, they might not want to work in an area where they might be subjected to feeling bad about themselves or feeling very uncomfortable about themselves because the way that men treat them. So that's something that hopefully your counselors will start talking to you, so that you can verbally talk this all out, so that you can understand yourself even more and understand the world even more. And of course, locating a mentor during this time period might be very, very helpful, because having a mentor where you can see them doing things that influence you, that might be a positive way of understanding what you want to do when you grow older. Career-related programs. Educators have changed attitudes to school. Lifelong learners, again, that's something that we encourage you guys to do, is continually learn all the time. Once you get a diploma, you should not stop, reading or, paying attention to how technology is changing. You want to learn different things, keep your mind active, and we hope that you do that after you graduate from college. Again, lifelong learners, different work requirements, technology advances, and global competition for manufacturing of goods. You'll understand that, the program that you're using today might change tomorrow. So it's something that you might want to make yourself realize and accept, and then, learn it when the time changes. Need for continuing education beyond high school. Again, a lot of careers change after high school because of the way that technology is helping us. Prepare students to obtain a bachelor's degree. Information about college entry requirements are offered during high school college nights, where different colleges might have a booth of some sort or a table to show all the different places, or it might be something where the students will go around and learn about different types of schools. Taking classes in high school for transferring to college, and then also AP or advanced placement exams, so that you get college credit for the subjects that you score well in the exam. College awareness and readiness programs for low-income students. The U.S. Department of Education has partnerships with states to stress college awareness and readiness for low-income students. And the reason for that is because sometimes parents of immigrants who are, let's say, of lower income levels, they might not have never even considered college, because college is for wealthy people. And so to be able to help students who are children of low-income families to rise out of that area, they need to know that college is something that they can actually do, can achieve, can get through, and it will lift them up financially and status-wise, as well as everything else as well, because education often comes with power, right? Build effective study habits so that they can succeed in college, awareness of financial assistance that could make going to college affordable, like scholarships. Maybe they're like, college is too expensive. I can't afford it. And so instead, maybe they might want to go to community college first. And then once they're able to work and go to school, they can save some money. And then let's say go to a four-year college to finish up their degree. Maybe think about loans and talking about the benefits and the pros and cons of loans. And then, of course, visiting colleges so you actually understand what it feels like to be a college student, because some people don't understand. And college and high school can be very, very different. You can actually have a life. You can take certain classes. You don't have to take other types of classes, whereas in high school and below, you're kind of mandated to take very specific classes. Partnerships between high schools and community college districts in the last decade, so just the last 10 years or so, more community colleges are being built, offer courses that can be transferred to four-year institutions. So you might take all your general education or GE classes in community college and then go into your major in the four-year college. Some juniors and seniors in high school attend community college to earn college credit. So maybe the students who are really able to advance and then take college classes during their high school. So that way they don't really waste time. They can maybe get their AA by the time they finish high school as well, or maybe just a couple of classes to really kind of teach them what it feels like to be a college student. There are tech prep programs, national strategy to ensure that students exit high school or community college or technology college with marketable skills for job placement and to pursue higher education. So what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that you are really ready to go to work or to continue your education. Integrated academics and technical training for secondary, post-secondary, and apprenticeship students. So learning while they're going to school is to also work in the field or volunteer or intern during the field so they really truly understand what the point of this work, of this job entails or requires. Organize work sites-based training. Encourage vocational education students to take more advanced academic-oriented classes. So maybe it's for some people who don't really like school and learning as much, but they really want to learn a specific trade or a specific job, like let's say becoming an electrician, to focus all their classes towards electrician-related classes might be very beneficial for those students who don't necessarily want to learn about the bigger picture. Career and technology programs, there are classes or schools that specifically focus on accounting, advertising design, architectural design, automotive, technology, business support systems, cosmetology, criminal justice, graphic arts. So if you really just want to learn about these because this is your passion, you can actually go to school and get a certificate into these fields so that you can be basically showing people that you understand how to do it in an acceptable standard way instead of just like, teaching yourself, because it might not necessarily be the safest or the quickest or smartest way to do something. Internships are conducted off campus and students rotate in a variety of workstations. So when you do an internship, we're hoping that you learn all these different types of things. You're not just learning one thing while you're there. So you really fully understand the bigger picture of this work. Career preparation consists of a combination of classroom training and on-the-job training. Job shadowing consists of time spent shadowing and observing an employee who is actively involved in a specific field work. So what shadowing basically means is, let's say that you're interested in becoming a nurse. You might shadow a nurse for the day, follow them all throughout their day to see exactly what entails, because sometimes you think this is what a nurse does, but really you don't. So the same thing happens with like police officers. You might sometimes see kids shadowing them or going on a ride with them for the day so they can see all the things that they do. They don't just shoot bad people or whatever. They do a lot of other things as well. Laboratory courses are designed to simulate a business or industrial workplace for hands-on experiences. So maybe at the location where you're learning, they might have a station that looks kind of like a lab or maybe a store or an office, and then you learn all those different things there, and then you actually go into the real world with those specific skills you're familiar with. Work-based learning consists of hands-on experience in the workplace. Placement services, the purpose and rationale for career centers. Students who are in various phases of career decision making might go to a career center because it helps them decide where they're going to go. Some are seeking information to narrow their choices, so they might go there because they want to do a specific thing only. Some people are searching for answers in the beginning phases of decision making. Maybe they go to a placement center to understand exactly what they need to do, what skills they need to have so that they can actually do that job. And then, of course, job listings from local, state, regional, national, and international resources. So what that is saying is also when you go to a center, a placement center, you'll also realize where all the jobs are, what kind of jobs are available for everyone. Placement by state employment agencies. Job banks are listings of all job orders compiled daily with each state. So there are certain types of jobs that are government or state-based, and so there is actually a bank of jobs that you can actually go to and then get those jobs and look for them and see whether or not they are the ones that you can apply for. So it's a placement for job seekers, but also a service for employers because employers will go to this job bank and say, these are the jobs that I have available at my company that I need people to fulfill. And then so it's a relationship between that and also the employees or the future employees who need a job. So in terms of placement for job seekers, there are job listings in professional, clerical, skilled, technical, sales, managerial, semi-skilled, service, and labor occupations. So those are all the different types of jobs that might be available at a placement center. Personal interviews with professional interviewers. So you might practice your interview skills or no skills if you don't have any, and practice and learn to expect what kind of questions people might ask at an interview. Assistance with improving qualifications. So maybe they need to learn how to type a little bit faster. It might be able to help you with that. Referral to training. So maybe you need a couple of different areas to be trained upon, so then they can refer you to a place to go get those skill sets. There might be testing for you to figure out maybe what areas you're thinking about working in. Counseling, services to veterans, and then unemployment benefits if they qualify. So what happens when they are laid off? Can they apply for, let's say, employment benefits, unemployment benefits? There's also services offered to employers. So screening for qualified applicants. So maybe the people at that placement will say, hey, I have the perfect candidate for you because they've already met that person and understand their skill sets and say, hey, you should apply for this specific job. So the employer will then have someone who's already vetted them. It's not just some random person who is applying for that job. There's also professional interviews, on-set recruitment and application taking, computerized job listings in most areas of the state. So all their jobs that are open at an agency will be listed so that way it can help them find clients immediately or potential future employees. Aptitude and proficiency testing. So let's say that you need a specific skill set. The testing at this placement center might let them know exactly what skills they have, how high their math skills are, their English comprehension, and stuff like that. Labor market information on technical assistance, technical assistance with job descriptions, master orders, and turnover studies. So any statistics will probably be provided there so that you understand, what kind of employees, what the society is doing right now. Is there a recession? Is there no recession? And then unemployment insurance tax information in case that also happens with their employees. Career counseling and educational institutions beyond high school. So credit for career-related courses can happen there. Seminars presented by counselors, faculty members, paraprofessionals, and business leaders can be offered beyond the high school setting. There could be seminars or workshops basically on career options and alternatives. What can they do? If they can't do that, what are some related jobs? Programs for undeclared majors. So what do you do if you don't know what you want to do? The connection between college majors and work roles. Job search strategies, how to find jobs basically, how to do an interview and prepare a resume, and making an effective transition from college to work. All those things can help a person prepare so they understand what to expect in the future, because what we don't want you to do is graduate from college and go, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. Am I supposed to just have a job because I have a degree? Because I have a diploma? Does that mean people have to hire me? No, not necessarily. But for some of us, that's something that we might have assumed, and that's a sad. The sad truth is that that's not all. You really do need to understand how work works. Work and experience-based programs, there's the extern. Extern is different from an intern. The extern experience is short of duration, usually during the semester break. So you might do an extern, just a short period, maybe 2 weeks or something like that at a location during winter break or during the summer. And then students usually do not receive course credit for an extern experience, shadowing and observation. So it's more like shadowing and learning about the job more than learning about what to do at that job. They're going to understand, oh, this is what a business person does. This is what a nurse does. This is what a doctor does. This is what a fireman does. This is what a postal service person does, and stuff like that. An intern spends more time in a workplace and are more work experience oriented than extern models. So they're actually doing the job. They're actually going to be part of the company, basically. They might not get paid, but they're learning all the different components. Let's say that if you're a counselor, you do your internship, you might learn how to do intakes. You might learn how to use the computer program at that place. Actually do the work that they're being trained to do under the supervision of a member of the organization.